6 months after first contact, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery and gazed at the Kepler 442 system where everything had begun. The ship had been completely rebuilt, using captured Zephyrian technology that human engineers had improved beyond the aliens' original capabilities. Where once humanity had been the primitive species exploring unknown space, now they commanded the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. The Discovery was no longer alone in deep space. Hundreds of human warships surrounded the former Zephyrian homeworld, like a metallic constellation. Admiral Katie Brooks had arrived with the Terra Expeditionary Force to accept the Collective's final surrender and establish humanity's new role as the dominant power in this region of space. Jake, it's hard to believe this is the same system where we first encountered their ultimatum, Dr. Alan Rodriguez said as he studied the tactical displays. Now their home planet is requesting permission to surrender unconditionally. The planet below them had once been the center of a galactic empire that controlled dozens of star systems. Magnificent cities covered its surface and orbital platforms filled the space around it. Now those same cities displayed white flags and the platforms transmitted messages of submission to the human fleet. Supreme Commander Veltara of the Zephyrian Collective waited in her chambers as human soldiers approached to formally accept her surrender. She had commanded 47 successful conquests during her career, but never imagined that a primitive species could reverse the natural order so completely. Captain Nicole Gray led the occupation force that landed on the Zephyrian capital. Her Marines wore armor that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. The result was equipment that surpassed anything the Collective had ever developed. Madam Supreme Commander, Nicole said, as she entered the alien leader's crystalline palace, I am here to accept your surrender and discuss terms for your species' future survival. Veltara's skin displayed the deep purple color that indicated fear and confusion. I do not understand how this is possible. Your species was primitive when we first made contact. How did you advance so quickly? Nicole smiled as she activated a holographic display showing human industrial capacity. You made a fundamental error in your analysis. You assumed that technological advancement follows a predictable pattern. Humans don't advance gradually when threatened. We leap forward in sudden bursts of innovation. The display showed how humanity had transformed in just 6 months. Mining colonies had become weapons factories. Research stations had developed new military technologies. Even civilian populations had contributed by designing improved spacecraft and tactical systems. President Carlos Martinez addressed the galaxy from Earth as news of the Zephyrian surrender spread to other alien civilizations. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to witness humanity's rise to galactic prominence. Fellow sapient beings, Carlos began his historic speech. Humanity seeks peaceful cooperation with all species who respect our freedom and sovereignty. We offer friendship, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts to any civilization that approaches us with honest intentions. The second part of his message was directed toward any species that might consider following the Zephyrians' example. However, let the fate of the Collective serve as a warning. Humanity will not tolerate threats to our independence. Any attempt to conquer or control human territory will result in swift and overwhelming retaliation. Dr. Peter Sullivan established the Galactic Relations Institute on Luna Base, where former Zephyrian scientists worked alongside human researchers. The aliens had been given a choice between execution for war crimes or cooperation in developing new technologies for peaceful purposes. It is fascinating to work with human methods, admitted Dr. Zekvon, the former head of Zephyrian weapons development. Your species approaches problems from directions we never considered. You improve our technology by breaking rules we thought were absolute. The Institute became a symbol of humanity's new approach to galactic politics. Instead of simply destroying their enemies, humans offered them the chance to contribute to a better future. Former adversaries became valuable allies when treated with respect rather than contempt. Commander Steve Parker received command of the new Terra fleet, a mobile armada designed to patrol human space and respond to threats anywhere in the galaxy. The fleet consisted of ships that incorporated the best elements of human and alien technology. Amy, take us to the Rigel system, Steve ordered as his flagship prepared for another patrol mission. Intelligence reports suggest that the hegemony of Krell is considering an attack on human trade routes. Amy Foster engaged the hybrid FTL drive that allowed the Terra fleet to travel faster than any other force in known space. Steve, do you think the Krell will actually be stupid enough to attack us after seeing what happened to the Zephyrians? Steve laughed as he watched the stars change to rainbow streaks during the FTL jump. Amy, never underestimate the ability of aggressive species to overestimate their own capabilities. The Zephyrians thought they were invincible right up until we started shooting back. The Terra fleet's reputation preceded them wherever they traveled. Other alien civilizations had witnessed the complete destruction of Zephyrian power and decided that human friendship was far preferable to human enmity. General Frank Miller oversaw the conversion of Mars from a military production center to a peaceful manufacturing hub. The Red Planet's facilities now produced civilian spacecraft and industrial equipment for trade with friendly alien species. It's amazing how quickly we can shift from war production to peaceful purposes, Frank told his staff as they toured the converted facilities. The same factories that built kinetic bombardment weapons are now manufacturing medical equipment for our new Zephyrian allies. Earth's transformation was equally dramatic. The planet that had faced extinction 6 months ago was now the unofficial capital of a rapidly expanding interstellar civilization. Human colonies spread throughout nearby star systems while alien refugees sought sanctuary in human space. Captain Ben Clark returned from his latest deep space mission with news that would reshape galactic politics forever. His exploration of former Zephyrian territory had revealed something that shocked even experienced human commanders. Admiral Brooks, Ben reported from the bridge of the Phantom. We've discovered 17 different species that were enslaved by the collective. They're all requesting human protection and offering to join our growing alliance. The implications were staggering. Humanity had gone from being threatened with extinction to becoming the liberators of multiple oppressed civilizations. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted completely in favor of species that valued freedom over domination. Dr. Helen Parker established rehabilitation centers for former Zephyrian military personnel who wanted to integrate into human society. Many aliens found that they preferred human concepts of individual freedom to their old rigid hierarchical system. The most interesting thing about humans, one reformed Zephyrian officer told Helen, is that you judge individuals by their actions rather than their species or social rank. This is a revolutionary concept that our leadership never understood. Admiral Katie Brooks stood in the command center on Luna Base and watched real-time displays showing human influence spreading across the galaxy. Trade routes connected dozens of star systems. Defense pacts protected weaker species from aggressive neighbors. Scientific exchanges advanced technology at unprecedented rates. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Andorian Republic, her communications officer reported. They're offering to join the Human Alliance in exchange for protection from the Krell hegemony. Katie smiled as she authorized the transmission. Tell them that humanity welcomes all species who value freedom and peaceful cooperation. Schedule a diplomatic meeting for next week. The final message of human victory was broadcast across the galaxy in hundreds of different languages. Every alien civilization received the same simple communication that would define interstellar relations for generations to come. This is Earth calling all sapient species. Our coordinates are attached for any civilization seeking peaceful contact. We offer friendship, trade, and mutual defense to all who approach us honestly. We also offer this warning to any species considering aggressive action against human territory or our allies. The message concluded with detailed footage of human military capabilities and the complete destruction of the Zephyrian collective. We prefer to make friends, but we are exceptionally skilled at eliminating enemies. Choose wisely. Humanity had not merely survived first contact with hostile aliens, they had established themselves as the galaxy's newest apex predator, and everyone in known space understood exactly what that meant. The 30-day deadline arrived with Earth silence echoing across space like a challenge. The Zephyrian collective had expected desperate negotiations or immediate surrender from the primitive humans. Instead, they received nothing but empty radio frequencies and the quiet hum of solar wind. Commander Zektar of the Zephyrian fleet grew impatient as he waited in his flagship beyond Pluto's orbit. His species had conquered 47 worlds using the same simple strategy. Make overwhelming demands, demonstrate superior technology, then accept the inevitable surrender. No species had ever refused their guidance before. Begin advancing toward the third planet, Zektar ordered his fleet. These humans require a closer demonstration of our power before they accept reality. The massive alien armada began moving inward through the solar system like a slow-moving storm of death. Their ships were beautiful and terrible, constructed from materials that gleamed like liquid metal under the distant sun. Each vessel was larger than humanity's biggest space stations and armed with weapons that could vaporize cities. Captain Nicole Gray watched the alien advance from the bridge of the battlecruiser Vengeance. She had been born on Mars and grown up watching the red sunrise through dome windows. The thought of aliens controlling human worlds filled her with cold rage that burned hotter than fusion fire. "All ships, this is Gray," she transmitted to the hidden human fleet. "The enemy is moving into our trap. Remember the Terra Doctrine. We don't fight fair, we don't fight predictably, and we don't fight alone." The first phase of humanity's counterattack began near Jupiter. Human ships had been hiding in the gas giant's radiation fields for weeks, using the planet's natural interference to mask their signatures. The Zephyrians expected to find empty space, but instead flew directly into a carefully prepared ambush. Commander Alex Thompson led a squadron of converted mining vessels that had been armed with kinetic accelerators. These ships looked like harmless civilian craft until they opened fire with projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop plasma bolts and particle beams, proved useless against solid matter traveling at relativistic velocities. "Direct hit on the enemy flagship," Thompson reported as his improvised weapon punched through the alien vessel's hull like paper. Their shields didn't even slow down our kinetic rounds. The Zephyrians tried to return fire, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the human ships. Every vessel in the attacking fleet used different stealth technologies, electronic countermeasures, and evasion patterns. The aliens' computers had been programmed to fight enemies who followed logical tactical doctrines. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Johnson commanded the second wave of the assault. His ships had been launched from secret bases scattered throughout the asteroid belt. They used gravitational slingshots around Jupiter and Saturn to accelerate beyond anything the aliens thought possible for such primitive technology. "This is Johnson to all bomber units," he transmitted. "We're going in fast and hard. Remember, these aliens think they're superior to us. Let's show them what human engineering can accomplish when we stop playing by the rules." Sam's bombers were carrying something the Zephyrians had never encountered before. Humanity had weaponized asteroids by attaching small fusion drives and guidance systems. These kinetic penetrators were essentially guided meteors that could be steered into enemy targets with devastating effect. The aliens watched in horror as chunks of rock and metal crashed through their formations. Their defensive systems had no protocols for dealing with such crude but effective weapons. The Zephyrians fought using elegant energy-based technologies while humans threw rocks at them with extreme precision and overwhelming force. "Impossible," Zektar muttered as he watched his fleet take heavy casualties. "These primitives are using Stone Age tactics with Space Age propulsion. Our tactical computers cannot predict their behavior patterns." The third wave of human attacks came from an unexpected direction. Captain Ben Clark had taken a small fleet of stealth ships around the solar system's outer edge. They approached the alien formation from behind, using the sun's interference to mask their approach until the last possible moment. Ben's ships were different from the others in the human fleet. They had been equipped with captured Zephyrian technology that human engineers had reverse-engineered and improved. The aliens found themselves being attacked by their own weapons turned against them. "This is insane." Ben laughed as he fired modified alien plasma cannons at the enemy fleet. "We've been studying their technology for 3 weeks and already made it work better than their original designs. These aliens really don't understand human innovation." The battle near Jupiter lasted for 6 hours and ended with the Zephyrian fleet in complete disarray. They had lost nearly a third of their ships while the humans had sacrificed only a few dozen vessels. More importantly, the aliens had lost something far more valuable than ships. They had lost their confidence. Commander Alex Thompson made the ultimate sacrifice during the final phase of the Jupiter engagement. His ship's engines were damaged by enemy fire and he couldn't escape the battle zone. Instead of surrendering or trying to flee, Alex did something that shocked the Zephyrians to their core. "All ships, this is Thompson," he transmitted calmly. "My engines are gone, but I still have maneuvering thrusters. I'm going to ram their command ship. Tell my family I died fighting for human freedom." Alex manually piloted his crippled vessel directly into the alien flagship's bridge section. The explosion destroyed both ships but eliminated the Zephyrian fleet's command structure. The remaining alien vessels found themselves leaderless and confused in the middle of ongoing human attacks. Did that primitive just sacrifice himself to damage our flagship? One Zephyrian officer asked in disbelief. What kind of species deliberately destroys itself to harm enemies? The answer became clear as the battle continued. Humans didn't just accept casualties in pursuit of victory. They weaponized their own deaths when necessary. Every human ship was equipped with self-destruct charges that could be used as improvised bombs against enemy vessels. Captain Nicole Gray led the final assault that drove the alien survivors away from Jupiter. Her fleet pursued the fleeing Zephyrians toward Saturn, while broadcasting a simple message that would soon be repeated across the galaxy. "This is humanity's answer to your ultimatum," Nicole transmitted to the retreating aliens. "We don't surrender. We don't negotiate with bullies. And we definitely don't accept guidance from species who think conquest makes them wise." The Zephyrian survivors regrouped near Saturn, but their morale was completely broken. They had expected to fight a primitive species using crude weapons and simple tactics. Instead, they faced an enemy that turned every disadvantage into a weapon and every limitation into an opportunity. The worst part for the aliens was realizing that humanity had been holding back during the initial engagement. The Jupiter battle was just a test of Zephyrian capabilities. The real human fleet was still hidden throughout the solar system, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. Admiral Katie Brooks had been watching the battle from Earth and preparing for the next phase of human operations. The aliens had revealed their tactical limitations and technological weaknesses. Now it was time to exploit those advantages on a scale that would end the war permanently. "All fleet commanders, this is Brooks," she transmitted to hidden human forces throughout the solar system. "Phase 1 is complete. The enemy is wounded and confused. Phase 2 begins in 12 hours. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten human freedom." The Zephyrians had made their biggest mistake by giving humanity time to prepare. Their second biggest mistake was assuming that humans would fight like every other species they had conquered. As they retreated toward the outer solar system, the aliens began to understand that they had awakened something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. The Zephyrian collective's confidence crumbled like ancient stone as their fleet retreated beyond Neptune's orbit. Commander Zektar sent desperate messages to the homeworlds, requesting immediate reinforcements and tactical guidance. The response from the collective's high command was swift and brutal. "You have failed against a primitive species," came the reply from Supreme Commander Veltara. "Reinforcements are being dispatched, but you must hold your position until they arrive. Do not bring further shame upon the collective by retreating from inferior beings." Zektar stared at the tactical display showing his decimated fleet and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. The humans had fought with weapons that seemed primitive but proved devastatingly effective. Worse, they showed no fear of death and actually used suicide attacks as standard tactics. Captain Ben Clark received new orders as his stealth ship, Phantom, drifted through the outer solar system. The human high command had decided to take the war directly to Zephyrian territory. Ben's mission was to reach the alien home systems and gather intelligence while striking at their supply lines. "Tom, how are those engine modifications coming along?" Ben asked his engineer as the ship prepared for its most dangerous mission yet. Tom Baker wiped grease from his hands and grinned. "Captain, we've successfully integrated the captured alien FTL drive with our own propulsion systems. The result is something that shouldn't be possible according to their physics, but works perfectly with human engineering principles." The hybrid drive system was typical of human innovation. Instead of simply copying alien technology, human engineers had improved it by combining it with their own designs. The result was a faster-than-light engine that could outperform anything the Zephyrians had built. Dr. Helen Parker worked in the interrogation center on Luna Base, studying captured Zephyrian prisoners. The aliens were physically impressive, standing nearly 8 feet tall with crystalline skin that shifted colors based on their emotional states. Right now, most of them displayed the deep purple hue that indicated fear and confusion. "Your tactics make no sense," the lead prisoner insisted through the translation device. "Civilized species follow established rules of warfare. You fight like wild animals with no honor or discipline." Helen leaned back in her chair and smiled. "You're absolutely right. We don't follow your rules because we never agreed to them. You came to our system and threatened our families. That makes this a survival fight, not a civilized war. The interrogation revealed the Zephyrians' greatest weakness. Their entire civilization was built on rigid hierarchical structures and predetermined protocols. When faced with unexpected situations, they couldn't adapt quickly enough to survive. Humans, by contrast, thrived on chaos and uncertainty. Colonel Rachel Adams received classified intelligence about Zephyrian allies and immediately began planning a series of false flag operations. If the aliens wanted to play galactic politics, humanity would show them how the game was really played. We're going to make it look like the hegemony of Krell is attacking Zephyrian supply convoys, Rachel explained to her special operations team. Our captured alien technology will provide perfect cover for these attacks. The plan was brilliantly simple and completely ruthless. Human ships disguised as Krell vessels would attack Zephyrian outposts and supply lines. The paranoid collective would assume their allies were betraying them and begin fighting on multiple fronts simultaneously. Ben, Clark's ship achieved faster-than-light travel for the first time in human history, as the Phantom jumped toward Zephyrian space. The sensation was indescribable, like being stretched across infinite distances while remaining perfectly still. When the ship emerged from FTL near the aliens' primary supply depot, Ben felt a surge of pride in human achievement. "My God," Amy Foster whispered as she studied the sensor readings. "There are over 1,000 ships at this facility. They're building a massive invasion fleet to attack Earth." The Zephyrian shipyard was a marvel of engineering that stretched across an entire star system. Automated factories churned out warships while massive cargo vessels delivered materials from conquered worlds. The scale of the operation made it clear that the collective had been planning Earth's conquest for years. "Tom, can you plant our special packages on their main production facilities?" Ben asked as they approached the shipyard under stealth. Tom Baker activated a series of small devices that looked like ordinary maintenance drones. These innocent-looking machines contained human-designed computer viruses that would gradually corrupt the aliens' manufacturing systems. The viruses were programmed to cause critical failures at the worst possible moments. Back in the solar system, Admiral Tony Garcia prepared for the largest military operation in human history. Every ship, station, and armed civilian vessel would participate in what he called the Great Sol Offensive. The plan was to eliminate the remaining Zephyrian fleet in one massive coordinated attack. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tony addressed his fleet commanders via secure communication, "the aliens think they're fighting a primitive species that got lucky in one battle. We're about to show them that Jupiter was just our warm-up exercise." The Great Sol Offensive began with simultaneous attacks from 6 different directions. Hidden human bases throughout the solar system revealed themselves as weapons platforms emerged from asteroid mining facilities. The secret Luna shipyards opened their doors and released hundreds of stealth fighters that had been built specifically for this moment. Commander Steve Parker led a squadron of these new fighters toward the Zephyrian fleet. Each ship was small enough to avoid most enemy sensors, but carried enough firepower to cripple larger vessels. The aliens found themselves surrounded by swarms of tiny attackers that moved too fast to track effectively. "This is Parker to all fighter squadrons," Steve transmitted. "Remember your training? Hit them fast, hit them hard, and don't give them time to adapt. These aliens think in predictable patterns, so we're going to be completely unpredictable." The Zephyrians tried to form defensive formations, but human tactics made such preparations useless. Some human ships attacked from long range using kinetic weapons. Others closed to point-blank distance and fired everything they had. A few simply rammed enemy vessels with fusion bombs attached to their hulls. Captain Nicole Gray commanded the human battle line, as massive capital ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. These vessels had been disguised as space stations, cargo haulers, and even large asteroids. When they revealed their true nature, the Zephyrians realized they had been surrounded for weeks. "All ships, commence Operation Sledgehammer," Nicole ordered as the hidden fleet opened fire simultaneously. The aliens' remaining ships found themselves caught in a crossfire that came from every direction. Human weapons ranged from sophisticated energy cannons to simple explosive charges attached to guided asteroids. The diversity of attacks overwhelmed Zephyrian defensive systems that had been designed to counter conventional military equipment. The battle lasted 18 hours and ended with the complete destruction of the alien invasion force. Scattered survivors fled toward interstellar space while broadcasting warnings about the insane warrior species that had defeated the mighty. Collective. Colonel Rachel Adams's false flag operations had been equally successful. The Zephyrian Collective was now fighting 3 different wars simultaneously as their former allies turned against them. The rigid alien leadership couldn't adapt to this multi-front conflict fast enough to prevent total strategic collapse. Dr. Helen Parker received reports that Zephyrian worlds were surrendering to human forces without firing a shot. The aliens' entire military doctrine was based on overwhelming technological superiority. When humans proved that technology alone didn't guarantee victory, Zephyrian morale collapsed across their entire empire. "It's remarkable," Helen reported to Earth Command. "Their whole civilization is built on the assumption that advanced technology makes them naturally superior to other species. When we proved that assumption wrong, their entire worldview fell apart. The war that the Zephyrians had expected to win in days had turned into a complete disaster that destroyed their empire in months. Human forces were now advancing into alien territory, while Zephyrian survivors fled deeper into the galaxy. Admiral Katie Brooks stood on Earth and watched reports stream in from across human space. The solar system was secure, the alien threat was eliminated, and humanity had established itself as a force that no other species would dare to challenge. "Send a message to all surviving Zephyrian forces," Katie ordered. "Tell them that Earth offers sanctuary to any aliens who wish to live peacefully under human protection. But make it clear that any future attacks on human territory will result in the complete extinction of their species." The tables had turned completely. The species that had come to conquer Earth was now begging for human mercy. Admiral Katie Brooks walked into the emergency session of the United Earth Defense Council with her jaw set and her eyes focused. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered in Geneva within 12 hours of receiving Jake Morrison's message from deep space. The alien ultimatum had changed everything, and humanity had only 25 days left to respond. President Carlos Martinez stood at the head of the conference table and addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history. These aliens think they can force us to abandon our freedom and live under their control. They have seriously underestimated what our species is capable of when we're pushed into a corner." Katie activated the holographic display and showed the tactical situation. Thousands of alien ships waited at the edge of the solar system like vultures circling their prey. The Zephyrian fleet was massive, but they had made one critical error. They were giving humanity time to prepare instead of attacking immediately. "The aliens expect us to surrender without a fight," Katie explained to the assembled leaders. Every other species they encountered apparently gave up when faced with superior technology. They don't understand that humans become more dangerous when threatened, not less. Dr. Peter Sullivan stepped forward from his position near the back of the room. He had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. As head of the Prometheus Research Initiative, he knew secrets that most world leaders had never imagined. "Madam President, Admiral Brooks, distinguished delegates," Peter began. "For the past 2 decades, my organization has been preparing for exactly this scenario. We may not have expected alien contact to go this badly, but we have been planning for interstellar warfare since the early 2140s. The room erupted in surprised murmurs as Peter activated his own holographic display. Hidden facilities appeared on the map, like flowers blooming across Earth's surface. Military installations that the public thought were research centers or manufacturing plants revealed their true purposes. "The Luna Naval Shipyard has been operating under civilian cover for 15 years, Peter continued. "What appears to be a small facility for building cargo haulers is actually the largest military shipyard in human history. We have been preparing a fleet specifically designed for deep space combat." Katie Brooks smiled for the first time since the crisis began. She had known about some of these preparations, but the full scope surprised even her. Humanity had been unconsciously preparing for this war for decades. On Luna, Commander Steve Parker received orders to activate the hidden fleet. He walked through corridors that looked like civilian offices, but led to massive hangar bays concealed beneath the moon's surface. Hundreds of stealth warships had been built and stored in these secret facilities. The ships were unlike anything in Earth's official navy. They had been designed by teams who studied every science fiction story and military theory about space combat. Each vessel incorporated lessons learned from humanity's bloody history of warfare, adapted for the unique challenges of fighting in vacuum. Steve's ship was called the Defiance, and it was humanity's most advanced stealth frigate. His crew included pilot Amy Foster and engineer Tom Baker, both veterans of the Mars Colonial Defense Force. They had been handpicked for their ability to think creatively under pressure. "Steve, this is incredible," Amy said as she examined the ship's specifications. "These engines can accelerate us to 15% of light speed. The armor is layered with materials I've never seen before. Where did this technology come from?" "Tom." Baker laughed as he checked the engineering systems. "We didn't invent most of this stuff, Amy. We stole the ideas from our own fiction writers and science theorists. Turns out that people who write about space battles for entertainment come up with some pretty good ideas." Meanwhile, on Mars, General Frank Miller oversaw the largest industrial mobilization in human history. The Red Planet's extensive mining operations transformed overnight into weapons manufacturing facilities. Asteroid mining equipment became kinetic bombardment systems. Fusion reactors designed for peaceful energy production were modified to power devastating energy weapons. The beautiful irony was that humanity's greatest advantage had always been their ability to adapt existing technology for new purposes. Earth's colonies were filled with engineers and scientists who specialized in making things work under impossible conditions. Frank stood in the command center of Olympus Base and watched as his staff coordinated production across dozens of facilities. "The aliens think they're fighting a primitive species," he told his aide. "They don't realize they're about to face the most adaptable and resourceful civilization in the galaxy." Back on Earth, Katie Brooks implemented something called the Terra Doctrine. This was humanity's new military strategy based on 3 core principles. First, never fight the enemy on their terms. Second, use unpredictability as a weapon. Third, always escalate beyond what the enemy expects. The Zephyrians had studied other species and developed tactics to counter conventional military strategies. They expected to face organized fleets using standard battle formations and recognized weapon systems. Humanity intended to give them something completely different. Every human ship would be unique. Some would be converted civilian vessels armed with improvised weapons. Others would be purpose-built warships using experimental technology. A few would be disguised as harmless cargo haulers until they opened fire with hidden artillery. President Martinez addressed the world on every communication network simultaneously. "My fellow humans, we stand at a crossroads. We can surrender our freedom and live as pets under alien control, or we can fight for the right to determine our own destiny. I know what choice our species will make." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Civilian shipyards across the solar system began converting everything from luxury yachts to mining barges into combat vessels. Retired military personnel returned to service by the millions. Scientists abandoned peaceful research to develop new weapons. Earth's defense networks activated systems that had been hidden for decades. Orbital platforms that appeared to be communication satellites revealed themselves as weapons platforms. The space elevator in Ecuador deployed military modules that had been disguised as cargo containers. Steve Parker led the first reconnaissance mission to gather intelligence on the alien fleet. The Defiance slipped past Zephyrian sensors using stealth technology that made it nearly invisible. His team studied the enemy ships and discovered their first major weakness. "These aliens rely completely on energy shields and plasma weapons," Steve reported back to Earth. "Their ships are powerful, but they're all built using the same basic design principles. They're used to fighting enemies who use similar technology." Tom Baker found something even more interesting in the engineering data. "Captain, their power distribution systems have a critical flaw. If we can overload their main generators, their shields and weapons will fail simultaneously. The problem is getting close enough to target their weak points." Amy Foster studied the alien formation patterns and noticed something strange. They're maintaining perfect geometric formations even during combat maneuvers. It's like they're following a computer program instead of adapting to changing conditions. This intelligence reached Earth just as the final preparations were complete. Humanity had transformed from a peaceful exploration society to a military force designed specifically to counter Zephyrian advantages. The aliens had given them 25 Days to prepare, and humanity had used every minute. Katie Brooks stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance and looked out at the largest fleet in human history. Ships of every size and design filled the space around Earth like a metallic cloud. Some were massive dreadnoughts built in the secret Luna facilities. Others were tiny fighters that could barely hold a single pilot. The diversity was intentional, and it would be humanity's greatest weapon against an enemy that expected uniformity and predictability. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery and watched the stars through the main display screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, and the crew was getting restless. They were farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. The Kepler 442 system lay ahead of them, like a collection of bright dots against the black void of space. The Discovery was humanity's most advanced exploration vessel. It carried 200 people, including scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Jake had commanded the ship for 5 years, and this was their most important mission yet. Earth wanted to know if there was life in the outer systems, and Jake's crew was going to find out. Lisa Harper sat at her communications station and monitored the radio frequencies. She had been doing this job for the past 2 years, and usually found nothing but cosmic background noise. Today felt different, though. Her instruments were picking up something strange. "Captain Morrison," Lisa called out. "I'm getting an unusual signal from the 4th planet in this system." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the data streaming across her screens. The signal was clearly artificial. It repeated in mathematical patterns that no natural phenomenon could create. The whole bridge crew stopped what they were doing and gathered around Lisa's workstation. Dr. Alan Rodriguez was the ship's chief science officer, and he pushed through the crowd to get a better look. "This is definitely created by intelligence," he said. "The pattern is too complex to be random." Security Chief Ryan Bell stepped forward with his hand resting on his sidearm. "Captain, we should prepare defensive measures. We don't know what we're dealing with here." Jake nodded and activated the ship's alert system. Red lights flashed throughout the Discovery as the crew prepared for possible first contact with alien life. Every person on board had trained for this moment, but nobody really knew what to expect. The signal grew stronger as they approached the planet. Lisa worked frantically to decode the mathematical sequences, while Alan ran the data through every analysis program they had. After 6 hours of work, they managed to establish basic communication protocols. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Collective, and they were waiting for humanity to make contact. Their first message came through as a series of electromagnetic pulses that the ship's computers translated into words. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear enough. "We are the Zephyrian Collective," the message said. "We have been watching your species for some time. You have been evaluated according to our standards. You have been found lacking in worthiness." Jake felt his stomach drop as he read the words on Lisa's screen. This was not the friendly first contact that humanity had hoped for. The aliens continued transmitting, and their tone became more threatening with each message. "Your species shows too much aggression and too little wisdom. You fight among yourselves and destroy your own planet. We are shepherds of lesser species, and we must guide you to a better path." Ryan Bell moved closer to the captain and spoke in a low voice. "Sir, this doesn't sound good. We should consider returning to Earth immediately." The alien transmission continued before Jake could respond. "You will relocate your population to worlds that we will designate for you. You will abandon all military technology and submit to our guidance. You will cease all expansion beyond your home system." Alan Rodriguez stared at the screen in disbelief. "They're giving us orders like we're children. Who do they think they are?" The aliens answered that question with their next message. "We have guided 17 species to peaceful existence under our care. Those who refused our guidance were eliminated for the good of the galaxy. You have 30 of your days to comply with our requirements." Jake felt anger building in his chest as he read the ultimatum. These aliens thought they could just appear and tell humanity what to do. They had no idea what kind of species they were dealing with. "Captain," Lisa said with her voice shaking slightly, "they're transmitting coordinates. It looks like they have ships positioned at the edge of our solar system." The main screen changed to show a tactical display of Earth's solar system. Thousands of red dots appeared beyond Pluto's orbit. Each dot represented an alien warship that had somehow arrived without being detected by Earth's defense networks. Jake activated the emergency communication system and sent a priority message back to Earth. He included all the data they had gathered about the aliens and their demands. The message would take several hours to reach home, but Earth needed to know what was happening. "This is interesting," Alan said as he studied the alien ship formations. "They're staying in defensive positions instead of advancing toward Earth. They want us to think about their offer, rather than fight immediately." Ryan Bell checked his weapons systems and found everything ready for combat. "Captain, what are your orders? Do we try to fight our way back to Earth, or do we stay here and gather more intelligence?" Jake looked at his crew and saw determination in their eyes despite the fear they all felt. These people had volunteered for deep space exploration, knowing they might never return home. Now they faced an enemy that could destroy their entire species. "We're going to stay here and learn everything we can about these aliens," Jake decided. "Earth needs information if they're going to fight this threat. Lisa, try to establish more communication with the Zephyrians. Act like we're considering their demands, but keep them talking." The Discovery moved into orbit around the fourth planet and began intensive scanning operations. The alien city below was massive and clearly very advanced. Their technology was at least 1,000 years ahead of humanity's best achievements. Over the next few days, the crew learned more about their enemy. The Zephyrians had conquered dozens of star systems and forced other species to live according to their rules. They believed that advanced civilizations had a duty to control less developed ones. Jake realized that these aliens had made a serious mistake. They thought humanity would surrender like the other species they had conquered. They didn't understand that humans would rather fight and die than live as slaves. The captain began planning their return journey to Earth. His crew had gathered enough intelligence to help humanity prepare for war. The Zephyrians had 30 days to wait for an answer, and Jake intended to make sure Earth was ready to give them one they would never forget.